Good evening,
Vivek.
hello, and welcome everyone on this exclusive interactive session of High Court Bar Association.
Okay, okay.
In this situation of panic caused by pandemic, the High Court Bar Association at Nagpur is making all the efforts to ensure that the members of legal fraternity get genuine legal advice and legal consultation with respect to all the issues with respect to COVID. In the last two webinars conducted by High Court Bar Association, we have had interactive sessions dealing with basic facts with respect to COVID, myths and some misunderstanding with respect to COVID. And we had got very nice response from all the members in the last two webinars. We appreciate the response of the members. Now, today we are here with another important and interesting webinar on the topic COVID-19 future issues, to discuss with another interesting issues about what exactly to do after suffering from COVID disease. This is a crucial area which needs equal importance. Therefore, we have selected this third topic. Today, we are privileged to have amongst us Dr. Ajay Kurve sir, a renowned expert in the field of neurological diseases. We welcome Dr. Kurve sir.
So thank you.
Sir, despite his extremely busy schedule, Dr. Kurve sir has consented to join us and he is with us. We are very happy. Dr. Kurve sir will guide us on the issue of possible future complications and how to deal with them. Dr. Ajay Kurve is an expert in this field. He has completed his MBBS and MD and has obtained his super specialization from AIIMS New Delhi in this subject neurosurgery. He has worked at AIIMS New Delhi and had also got his fellowship from a reputed institute from Germany. Since last 17 years, he is practicing at Nagpur. Presently, he is attached at Viveka Hospital as senior consultant neurosurgeon and spine surgeon. Now, I don't take much time and I request Kurve sir to start his address. Before that, I request all the members to put their mic on mute mode, and this is an interactive session, so questions and answers will be followed after Kurve sir's address. Advocate Radhika Bajaj will be dealing with the question answer session. Members are requested to post their questions in the chat box. Thank you. Over to you, Kurve sir.
Good evening, all respected lawyers. I am really grateful to all of you for providing me this opportunity. I am really honored. So let us start today's topic, that is COVID-19 and the future. This is what is today's topic. We know everyone is now facing this second corona wave, and this corona wave, everyone is there is bed crisis, there is oxygen crisis, there is a medicine crisis. Everyone is facing the same. Everyone looks very helpless, but everyone is talking about second wave and the treatment. But today I'm not going to talk about this second wave. I'm going a step further. What I'm talking today about is what is the future of the corona, because we faced the first wave. Now we are facing the second wave. Is this something like in the recent future we will face the third wave also? So this is very important and it's a very common question. This is appearing in everyone's mind. What will be the next? Are we really safe or not? As far as the present pandemic is concerned, second wave is concerned, this is really a tsunami wave. There is no doubt about this, and this is all over the nation. For example, if we take into consideration the condition of the Nagpur, as of now, because of the rising cases, we need around 1,500 beds per day. This is what is the need of today. Now, what is the prediction about this second wave is that probably mid of May will reach to the peak, and by the May end, there will be the rapid decline in cases. So if the waves continues like this and the prediction comes out to be true, probably in Nagpur, by mid-May, we'll be needing about 6,500 beds per day. This is how horrible it will be like. This is what is the prediction. So this second wave, we never imagined it could be so dangerous. At the same time, the most important message this second wave has given us is that the coronavirus is far more clever and brilliant than all of us, all human beings. Or it could be something like that. Probably the signals given by its presence during the first wave, probably we ignored that. This is why we are facing this tsunami of the second. Now, looking into the future, what will be the next? What will be the future? To know the future, we must go into the past and take the lessons from the first wave and the second wave, and then prepare accordingly. So knowing the first wave and the second wave in details is of great importance as of now. Now, as far as the second wave is concerned, we are all helpless. We need to face it. As far as the whole world is concerned, about some nations are facing the third wave also. As far as the whole nation is concerned, the war between the humans and the virus is something like the World War III. So such a terrible condition all over the world. So what is the next? To find the answer, let us start with the first wave. The first wave, we started getting the cases by the January and Feb last year in India. So then to control and build up the infrastructure, health infrastructure, we had a lockdown of 3 months. So then after that, we had a first wave in the September and the October of last year. That time, the virus was absolutely new for us, and it was a new infection for all of us. We had a very limited knowledge of the virus. At the same time, we were not aware about the clinical signs, symptom presentation. As we are not well aware of that, the diagnosis was a problem. As the diagnosis was problematic, treatment was also a problem. But over a period of time, we learned during the first pandemic, during the first wave of the pandemic, that this virus is very infectious. And the most important thing which we knew about this virus was that this virus stays on a surface for as long as 3 days. So such a terrible state. So this was all very frustrating. This was all full of frustration for everyone. At the same time, because of this, then there is an invention of PPE kits, because those were medical personnel attending the patient, they were very at high risk. So the PPE kits were invented. The various diagnostic kits were also invented, because this was a new, absolutely new virus for the human beings. And because of this, invention started taking place. At the same time, from the treatment point of view also, the newer antiviral drugs were also tested. That time, we had very limited resources. For example, as far as the PPE kits were concerned, newer antiviral drugs were concerned, and basically the diagnostic kits were concerned. We were absolutely dependent on the all foreign countries for all of this. So we have too much of a limited resources as far as dealing with the first wave was concerned. But despite of all these odds, we managed first wave very nicely. If we compare the scenario in India and the rest of world, now India being the thickly populated country, we have 130 crores population with us in a small space. Despite of these limitations, high population and the limited resources, we managed the wave very well. Compared to the rest of the world, the results were really good, and that was a very creditable job. So coming to why this happened, despite of so much of our limitations, we could fight this first wave very nicely. What were the reasons behind that? Because we need to assess what were the reasons. So the first important, the lockdown probably taught us about the COVID appropriate behavior. That was one of the most important thing, which was followed nicely during the first wave. Now in the second wave, we are finding we are at least vaccine, which we started in the mid of January. That time we had no vaccination available with us. Despite of limited resources, limitation of the health infrastructure, the outcome was good. And to some extent, probably, we were thankful to the virus because it was not mutated that time. So this is probably the reasons why could manage well. But what were the learnings from this first wave? This is very important as far as our future is concerned. We came to know it was a purely respiratory tract infection. Second important, in severe cases, it used to affect the other system. The most important being the cardiac system and nervous system in the form of thrombotic complication. Thrombus means the clot. Because of the clot, the heart attack and the brain attacks, they were very common in high risk patient, in the patient having this high severity of the disease. At the same time, we came across the need of oxygen, that the oxygen forms the important modality of treatment as far as the treatment of the COVID patients are concerned. Then we came across the use of remdesivir, tocilizumab, steroids, and the anticoagulant. Now here, we Indians differ with the rest of the world as far as the use of remdesivir was concerned and tocilizumab was concerned. We use very widely these drugs and had a good clinical outcome. This was seen in Indian scenario, but it differs with the rest of the world. Second important thing, what the most important learning message which was given by the first wave was that immunity. Everyone was talking about the immunity. If your immunity is good, the virals will not affect you much. This what was the conclusion. At the same time, we came to know during the first phase that the old persons are very high risk persons as far as the outcome was concerned regarding complication and the mortality. So COVID appropriate behavior was an important key factor while dealing with the first wave. And immunity is the important role, and the old patients were a high risk patient. This was the ultimate conclusion of the first wave. Now we are saying the COVID appropriate behavior, COVID appropriate behavior. One should all know what is the COVID appropriate behavior, what is the use of mask. Now, if we compare a healthy individual and the individual having the COVID infection, if they come across, what will happen? If both of them don't wear a mask, then chance of infection to the healthy individual will be around 90%. See, if they don't wear the mask, the chance of infection is around 90%. Now, if the healthy individual wears a mask and the patient doesn't wear a mask, the chances of healthy individual getting the infection is around 30%. Now, if the only patient wears a mask and a healthy individual fails to wear, then the chances of infection is 5%. Now, if both of them wears a mask, then it dramatically goes down up to 1.5%. This is what is called as use of mask as a COVID appropriate behavior, the most important aspect of treating the spread of coronavirus. So this was all about the first wave. Now, second wave. Now, at present, this is a simple explosion of the infection. It comes as tsunami. The most important reason for the second wave was probably it looks like mutated strain of coronavirus. The second double mutation, triple mutation, which is coming across. This mutated strain, they are highly infectious. For example, this is very much clear by the fact that during first wave, if a single family members become infected, rest of the family were spared. Rest of the family members were spared. But during this second wave, it has come to our notice that, and this is happening very commonly, if single member is affected, rest of the whole family is becoming infected. This is how we can guess about the infectivity of this mutant strain. So it is a very severe infection as far as the second wave is concerned. Because of increase in the severity of the infection, the complication rates is also high. Mortality is also increasing. Now, if the complication increases, naturally the oxygen, which is the most important modality of treatment, the need has also gone up. This is why the reason, this is what is the reason behind the sudden oxygen crisis in this nation. At the same time, second important thing in the last time we felt probably the old person they are very high risk and they are very prone for the complication. Now, this way has told us the most important that the young adults are more commonly affected compared to the old patients because this is the active working group. But this was not a story in the last wave. Probably good immunity spared the young adults. But now the young adults are equally, there is more commonly infected because of this virus. And one most important thing, probably which is not very much talked about, is a pediatric age group. Now we need to think very seriously about this group. Everyone is talking about the young adult group. Initially, we were talking about the old group. Now everyone is talking about the young adult. But that's equally involved group, which is more at risk now, as far as whatever the cases coming across is the pediatric age group, but nobody is talking about it. You see, the incidence compared to the first phase, 50 to 60% more in the pediatric age group. At the same time, in the first wave, it was found that even if it affects the pediatric age group, they used to be mostly asymptomatic. But there are a number of cases now on the record that they are getting more chest infection. The score 10 and plus is also seen in the pediatric age group. At the same time, they are also the spreaders of the disease. So this is second important message which is coming during this second wave. So because of the increase in the infection, more number of the individual affected, there is a sudden oxygen crisis and the crisis of medicine along with the crisis of the bed. So despite having very good experience of dealing the first wave successfully, I will now compare to this first wave, I will call the first wave handling was really very good and successful. Despite of that great knowledge, great experience, we couldn't manage the second wave as per our expectation. It has all created all rapid infections and simply exposure of the cases. As I told you, the daily basic need in Nagpur is around 1,500 beds per day. And if it reaches to its peak, it will be 6,500 beds per day. So you can imagine the severity of the infection. And the most important statistics, which tells us that it is a mid-May, will reach to the peak. So as of now, we're still not at the peak. And probably by May end or June first week, probably we'll have some relief from this second wave of infection. Now let us assess this second wave. While assessing this second wave, I want to tell you an important peculiar feature of the pandemic. The 100 year back, the pandemics, you see, they keep coming every 100 years. The last pandemic, which was 100 years back, it also lasted for around 2 years. So there is a peculiar thing which pandemic tells us, that the infection also always causes surge. Then there is a dampening of the infection and again surge. So this keeps on happening, mutation keeps on happening, and because of multiple mutation, virus becomes, weak, and gradually the pandemic goes up. This is usual natural story of the pandemic. Probably we ignored the surge and dampening and the surge pattern of this pandemic. When you see other nations, what is happening as far as corona infection in the world is concerned, if something happens wrong in one country, sooner or later it becomes global. So when we were facing the first wave, few countries were facing the second wave. As we are facing the second wave, few countries are facing the third wave. So as you know, the third wave was seen in other countries before the onset of second wave in our India. Probably we could get some signals from those second wave in the other countries that probably we could prepare ourselves in a better way, because there is nothing cure is still not evident in the recent future also. So looking at this scenario, we could have prepared ourselves in a better way. So what were these things? Probably inadequate capacity building. When you see in the December, the active cases has gone down markedly up to the 10,000. The active cases all over India. It was all like probably we won the war against the virus, and sooner or later, probably in summer, will be free from the virus. This was our expectation. But this was all proved wrong by the virus. So inadequate capacity building, that is, we were knowing that the oxygen is most important modality of the treatment. So putting up the oxygen plants, because though we have adequate oxygen in our country, few states have the oxygen plant, few states don't have the oxygen plant. So there is the problem of transport of the oxygen, means lack of infrastructure. Probably we would have built the adequate infrastructure as far as the transport was concerned. We were knowing that from the first wave, antivirals were of great use as far as the outcome was concerned in our country. It was more commonly used. We should have stocked up the medicine for the second wave. This is what is inadequate capacity building. This could be a probable reason as far as the second wave is concerned. But apart from this, what exactly went very grossly wrong for this second wave is the very poor COVID appropriate behavior. As soon as cases dropped down to 10,000, everyone was very happy, as if we won the war against the corona. And because of this poor COVID appropriate behavior, most of the people stopped wearing the mask. Those who were wearing the mask, it was as good as simple symbol for them. That was all hanging on the neck, keeping all your neck, all your nose, mouth, everything basically uncovered. So there was large gathering, marriages, some or other functions, these were all happening. And this is probably has given rise to the second wave. This is also contributing to this is why this second wave has come. One thing we need to understand, see, there is a basic dictum in the medical sciences. That is, prevention is better than the cure. But as far as corona infection is concerned, cure is still not evident. So this can be modified as prevention is better than the control. So as far as the third wave is concerned, see, the France is facing the third wave. The estimation in US probably they will face third wave in August and September. This is what is basically a prediction. May be true, may not be true also. So what about us? If it at all happens, then it will be very dreadful, full of mortality. So should we allow this? So one should know this. While tackling the future, we should know prevention is better than control. The whole aim of our India has to be, that is the third wave free India. This should be the goal. If at all we fail to achieve this, at least we should achieve a target of third wave with the zero mortality. This is very important. At the same time, I would like to tell you that this prevention is going to come only because of this COVID appropriate behavior. And second, now to our help is vaccines. Because of the prevention, what can happen, I tell you, we can break the chain of the virus. If we break the chain of the virus, probably it will result in complete cure. So whole of the cure now lies in the prevention. This is the most important message we got from the first and the second wave. Now we'll discuss something about this prevention, that the COVID appropriate behavior we discussed. Now let us discuss something about the vaccination, how it is useful, how it will help us from preventing the third wave and a step towards complete cure. So the most important, how does the vaccination, how it is going to help us? See, vaccination means it doesn't give you a complete 100% immunity. It never gives you 100% immunity. It means that if you are vaccinated, it doesn't mean that you will not get the disease. But the fact is you will get the disease, but disease will be very mild. You will be at home only. At the same time, there will not be any life-threatening complication. You will avoid the hospitalization. See how many advantages, big advantages are there with the vaccination. But one more important thing we must know about this vaccination is that if the vaccinated person becomes infected with the corona, the chances of infection from the vaccinated infected person to the other person is very low. So as a result, the infectivity also goes down. This is what is the super added advantage of the vaccination. So when the vaccination was introduced in our country, there is a mid of Jan, the whole aim was to reduce the mortality, because what we learned from the first was the high risk patient are the old patients. So we started, but this was all over the world. Everything vaccination started with the high risk patient, that is the old persons. But now the second wave has told us young adults are also equally more prone. They are more prone than the Now the old patient, because old patient knows they are all homebound now because of this virus. But young patient, young adults can't be, because there's a active working group. So now the vaccination is started for the young adults also. So now we need to basically know now the aim of the vaccination is now changed. Initially, it was preventing the mortality. Now it is not only the preventing the mortality, reducing the mortality, but at the same time reducing the infectivity also. This has now added to the goal of the vaccination. One thing we need to understand is that regarding vaccination, it is, see, me or you become vaccinated is not enough. No one is safe unless and until all are vaccinated. This is most important thing. We need to understand this. Because only me and you, if they are safe, we are not absolutely safe. Everyone has to be vaccinated. So all should be vaccinated. This should be the goal. Now, naturally, in 130 crore population, there are some limitations as far as the vaccination is concerned, and the most important is the doses. You see, we have where government is trying their level base to get the vaccines, adequate doses, but it seems a bit difficult. So how to address this important issue? The most important thing we can address is, government already started doing this, that by increasing the capacity of vaccine production. They are helping the vaccine manufacturer immensely as far as the production is concerned. But that is going to take some time. So what is the other thing which can be of help? That is the foreign vaccines which are approved and used there. So the free access to all these vaccines will be of great help for our goals towards the vaccinated India. Now, what is ideal things for the vaccination? But before coming to the ideal vaccination, I want to stress most important thing, that is, say there is one popularism which is going on about the vaccination, that will give free vaccines to everyone. What I sincerely feel, see, even a common person, those who are affordable, can purchase a vaccine. If we can purchase a vaccine, the economic burden on the government goes down, and probably there can be a free access to the foreign vaccine, so that there are alternatives are available, and more people can get the vaccines rather than just going for free for the vaccines, free for all this concept. Yes, those who are not affordable, they should get the free vaccine. So because of the economic burden goes down, more and more number of vaccines will be available to all of us. So what should be the ideal vaccination? Let us divide it into two groups. That is the government initiative and the social initiative. As far as government initiative is concerned, we know the adequate doses of the vaccines. That is most important priority. Second important thing is that we want a clear-cut now message from the government, that is, the vaccination is compulsory for all. This message has to go very clearly. Something as an order for everyone. This has to go very clearly to the people that everyone must vaccinate. This is the important thing as far as our goals toward the vaccination is concerned. See what happens initially, because of too much of a misconceptions. Many of the people, when the vaccines were available, they didn't, inoculate. That was a problem. And that lingered on for a long period of time. As a result, we lost. See, what the study shows, there was around loss of around 70 to 20%, means there was wastage of around 70 to 20% of the vaccine. Now, if we consider 70 to 20% of the vaccine in present scenario, it comes with around 2 crore jabs. We lost 2 crore jabs. This was all because of misconception and tantrum thrown by the public. So there should be something like that. From administrative point of view, those who are spreading the misconception, they should be put behind the bars. This is one of the most important need of the present hour, because we can't afford the number of patients dying. We can't afford to lose the lives of our precious all people. This is very important. Now, coming to the social aspect, what could be the social aspect of this? The basic idea of this social aspect has to be, see, this could be achieved through various social organization ensures that all affordables will buy the vaccines, they will pay for the vaccine, and those who are poor will get the vaccines free. This should be the basic concept of this, so that the economic burden of the government goes down, and more and more jabs of different vaccines are available, and many people, they get vaccinated. For example, now, so this social responsibility, what we can do, everyone has maximum number of, we people have the maids at home. We should take a social responsibility of vaccinating all this maid, and if possible their family also. Those
फोन
who are
चालवताना
having
मला
the
कसं ऐकू?
offices, those poor office boys working, or peons, housekeepings working with them, with their families, they should be vaccinated. We should take some initiative to vaccinate them. This is now done by many of the corporate. They are vaccinating all their members also, all their working members. So this is a great initiative taken by the corporates also. So as a social responsibility, we can do that. Through our social organization, we can adopt poor families and vaccinate them. What this, because of the poverty, they are not very much bothered about this vaccination, because they are very poor, and most of the time they remain unvaccinated. So by this social responsibility, you can adopt them and go for the vaccination. See, last lockdown, when there was a lockdown of 3 months in the last summer, there was a great social initiative which was done by the public in groups and as an individual also. See, when this was mainly for the stuck-up laborers. The food was provided on a daily basis, and this was done very much spontaneously all across the nation. So can we somehow now change the concept of this initiative? Today, now there is the same is the need of that initiation, that we can vaccinate all these people, poor people. So this, from providing food, we can just change the narrative. That is, we can just vaccinate all those poor people who hardly bothers, or who will not be vaccinated because of their poverty. So this change can be made. Second important thing, as I told you, this is, we are 130 crore people. We have 130 crore people country. So as far as the pace of vaccination is concerned, we are definitely leading in the world. For example, we achieved a goal of achieving vaccinating 10 crore people in just a duration of 85 days. Whereas in US, that was achieved in 89 days. And in the China, the same was achieved in 102 days. But looking at our population, this is not enough. The vaccination has to be very aggressive and has to be very target oriented. We should fix up a time period for vaccinating the people. And what is ideal, which is proposed for goal towards vaccination, is that on a daily basis, we should vaccinate 10 million people per day. As of now, we are achieving around 3 million people per day. So goal is around 10 million, means 1 crore people per day, 1 crore jabs per day. See, it is not something like a single jab is given and the vaccination is complete. We need 2 jabs, and even after getting 2 jabs, a period of 15 days thereafter. This is how long it takes to get adequate antibodies. So ultimately, the target is 2 crore jabs. In last 4 months, we could achieve, we could inoculate around 15 crore jab. If we go by the same speed, then it is more than so many years, probably more than 4, 5, 6 years we'll need to achieve this goal. So one has to have a very aggressive vaccination, which is absolutely target oriented. And what we can achieve this through, that 24/7 working dedicated vaccination center, and that to a jumbo center all over the India. We should have these centers working throughout till the last jab is inoculated. So we need 24/7 working, dedicatedly working centers, and they will be working irrespective of holidays, irrespective of Sundays. But this is only not enough. We want initiation from the people also. We want their equal involvement in vaccination. Unless and until they come spontaneously, the vaccination will not be complete. So it is something like that. You people are the best people who can tell us, is it applicable or not? Is it basically workable or not? This is probably what I feel can be suggestions. Making vaccination completion certificate as important as Aadhaar card. If we implement this, this is important thing. If we can implement, more and more people will get vaccinated spontaneously. They will come to the center and get vaccinated because they will need the vaccination completion center certificate. If the vaccination completion certificate is not there, they should not be allowed to travel by the train or by air. At the same time, their entry into the government offices to be prohibited. See, these are recommendations. This is what I feel basically. I don't know to what extent this is workable. But if it works, like, it will greatly help us in bringing up our vaccination. Third important thing, can we make this completion certificate as a part of KYC? If we can do that, because of this, there will be limitations on the financial transaction of those people who are not vaccinated. Of course, they should be given a time. There should be stipulated period of time, because the past experience show that the spontaneity, this is lacking as far as on the part of people is concerned. They're not very enthusiastically coming forward to get vaccinated. Now, because of the second wave, because of the fever, the people are coming out and getting vaccinated. But we want the participation of all. So this is more important thing, and you people can tell us, is this is applicable or not? Now, as far as the vaccination is concerned, two groups that are not basically thought of or probably not discussed. I told you that is a pediatric age group. See, during this second wave, the incidence is almost gone up by 50-60% in the pediatric age group. Most commonly affected age group is that is between 12 to 15, and they are acting as a spreaders, super spreaders at home for all the old people who are at home. This is a very important thing. Second wave, because of this mutation, second wave, the disease has become very severe in the pediatric age group. So first wave showed us the old patients are very common. They are at risk. Second wave is telling us young adults are very common. At the same time, pediatric age group is also involved. So we are getting around 3.5 to 3.6 lakhs cases per day. Of this, around 70 to 80,000 are pediatric cases. This is not much thought. So this is this ऐसा तो नहीं कि सेकंड वेव में यंग एडल्ट्स हो गया, उनका वैक्सीनेशन शुरू हो गया, ओल्ड एज ऑलरेडी शुरू है. But there is nothing workable pattern as far as vaccination of pediatric age group is concerned. ऐसा तो नहीं कि next third phase आएगा, third wave आएगा और probably involve the remaining pediatric age group, because most of the young adults will be vaccinated. By that time will be vaccinated. Old patient will be vaccinated, and the left group is just pediatric, and then there is havoc. And at the 11th hour will start running. So this should not happen. This is what I feel. So the pediatric age group, whatever the trials are there, they should be expedited. And the pediatric age group should also be brought under the vaccination. See, unless and until the pediatric age group is vaccinated, we won't be in a position to start the tools safely. This is important thing. Now, second important thing, which is probably not talked much about, is a lactating female and the pregnant female. This is equally important because this group is also equally susceptible for the infection and for the complications also. Because when the mother bears when the mother bears a child, so during this they become very much susceptible to the infection. So there should be something known as a vaccination pattern, a safe vaccination pattern for the lactating and the pregnant woman. This is also very important. Now, as far as the vaccination is concerned, we should take into account the example of Israel. So Israel was not talked much about on the international forum, but that was a country which was very actively involved in one or other researches. And as far as the vaccination is concerned, they geared up in December only. And by March 15, they completed their vaccination. And the Israel became the first country which was free of the mask. So we should take the example of the Israel as far as our vaccination program is concerned. So how to conclude basically? So light at the end of a tunnel is only in the form of vaccination and a COVID appropriate behavior. As far as the present pandemic is concerned, the prevention is always better than cure. This standard dictum is not applicable. So the dictum is modified as prevention is better than control. And the aim has to, that is the third wave free India. If at all we don't achieve it, we should be having the third wave free of mortality, well manageable third wave. And the ultimate goal has to be cure, which is not evident. But the most important thing we can learn from our past experience is that because of prevention, we can break the chain, and breaking the chain is ultimate cure. So this is the disease where cure is coming from the prevention in the form of COVID appropriate behavior and vaccination. So this is for all. Thank you for listening me as far as the present today's talk is concerned. Now I think the forum is open for the interactive session.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for giving us such wonderful insights and such lovely comparisons.
Madam, you are not audible to me.
Sir, can you hear me now? Is this better?
Yes, see, the voice is very low.
Okay. Is this better, sir? Can you hear me now?
The voice is a problem, ma'am.
Okay. So we would like to thank you for your insights and for the wonderful information that you have given us.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
All the details about how the COVID is a World War III and how clever the virus is in mutating. So we really thank you for this guidance. We would like to...
Can you give me a minute because there is some problem with the voice. There is some problem with the volume.
Sir. Yes,
just a minute.
Hello, Radhika.
Oh, sir, bola.
There appears to be a problem from his side.
From his side?
Yes, because your sound is very clear.
Okay, maybe his maybe your volume.
He will repair it. He will
Just
repair
it. Just a ma'am.
Sure, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry for this.
No, sir, absolutely no problem. And thank you so much for such an insightful address. There are quite a few questions which have already been posted. I'll just one by one we can deal with them. Somebody has asked that regarding a triple mutation. They're saying that please put some light on how the virus is more intelligent than humans, and they're worried whether it is going to be a triple mutation.
See, this is very standard. This is very natural, madam. This is also a struggle for life for the viruses also. So anything, either these are the viruses, bacteria, human beings, they always struggle to live more and more. So as soon as they come to know, yeah, they're being killed, there takes place some, genetic changes within a virus. And after that, yes, after one mutation, second mutation, it keeps on happening. So what happens, this mutation is a way of struggle of the virus to live more and more. That's why the infectivity initially goes up. But what happens with the multiple mutation, overall strength then over a period of time goes down. This is what is the overall natural history about this mutations.
Right, sir. Right. And so somebody is asking, how long is the vaccination immunity? How long would it continue?
Yeah, ma'am, as far as the vaccination immunity is concerned, this is everything is new for everyone because this was for emergency use. See, naturally in natural core, what happens as far as vaccines are concerned, the trials goes for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years for establishing their safety and to know how long the antibodies immunity will, you know, will persist. But as far as this vaccination is concerned, it is said that because what were the trials initially were there for almost 6 to 9 months. So it is said that around 9 months is probably a period of having an immunity after vaccination. But the Covaxin is now gearing up for the booster dose. That is the booster dose. Covaxin has started. They got a green signal also for carrying out these studies. That they are introducing. They will be probably introducing after some time a booster dose after 6 months, which will probably give a lifelong immunity. This is what are the news about. But still, exactly crystal clear is still not evident.
Being a gray area, this is
Yeah, it is still a gray area, ma'am. It will take some more time to know this.
Yes, sir. So
But what is what is basically the present need is that we should get at least vaccinated and be safe for this spread of second wave, third wave till the time it phases out. This is very important. The same thing has happened regarding the swine flu. See, when the swine flu came, we had a vaccine. Every time what happened, the strain changes and the vaccine has the same strain. So see, now last 2 years, we are not talking much about the swine flu. This is all because of the vaccination. Even if the new strain is coming, we are not affected. Same probably will stand true for the corona vaccines also.
Right, sir. Thank you. Sir, another question is that if somebody has been diagnosed with COVID after taking his first dose, how long should we wait for the second dose to take the second dose?
So, madam, the thing is it is around 6 to 8 weeks. The safe period is even after getting 6 to 8 weeks after the after getting the infection.
Right. Sir, the next question is that if we vaccinate household staff, will it add to a false sense of security as they will still be potential carriers and may not be sufferers?
See, no, I couldn't get this question. Can you please repeat, ma'am?
What I think he means to say is that once the household staff which comes to the house, if they are vaccinated, would it add to a sense of security? We'll call them very freely to our house, but they can still be carriers of the vaccine and transfer it to us.
No. See, the principle remains same. The inoculating myself or my maid, it remains same. It will serve the same purpose for me as well as for the maid. See, the whole thing is that we need to complete a vaccination. We should not stop in between. That is important thing. And it becomes, basically safety environment for you if your maid is vaccinated. Yes. That is important thing. So vaccination is not only allowing this basically safety, but at the same time, even if she becomes infected, the degree of infection to you from her will be very less because she is vaccinated. That is important.
Yes, sir. Sir, in a previous speaker who was with us a couple of days ago, he said that the children are the spreaders of vaccine, but they are safe and the parents can allow the children to play freely. But today you pointed out a lot of, as far as the pediatric group is concerned, you have pointed out a lot of problems which may arise or crop up.
Yeah.
So what is the final call, if you can clear this, because a lot of us have small children.
Madam, see, now during the second wave, whatever the discussions were going on among the pediatricians, what were the discuss on the news channels also, they see the incidence has gone up by 50 to 60%. Right. All pediatric age group till the last wave, they were found to be absolutely safe. Even if they get a disease, they will have either mild symptoms or no symptoms at all. But this second wave, because of the mutation, the incidence has gone up. See, I discussed with one of my friend who is an infection control consultant. He was telling me that. So there are a number of cases now on a record, which are, that is the age group between 12 to 15, they are coming with a severe infection. Chest infection, chest complication has gone up, particularly between the age group 12 to 15. This is something, a new finding, which was not quite evident from the first. So we need to concentrate on this age group now, because what is happening, if at all we come across the third wave,
Yes.
you see, all adults will be vaccinated that time. At least many of them at least have a one dose vaccination. Will have some antibody. But the pediatric age group will be the only area where they will not be vaccinated and might suffer most. So it is very important that they should be vaccinated. If they don't they get vaccinated and they suppose get infection in the schools, they will bring the same infection to the family member. Though we are vaccinated, but we'll have the infection from them. So no one is safe unless and until all are vaccinated. This should be the basic principle.
And sir, as far as children are concerned, what are the future neurological effects that can happen to the children? As far as the toddler group or these young pediatric group are concerned, what can we expect from them for as far as neurological symptoms are concerned or effects are concerned?
See, neurological symptoms, we are not come across any such cases or neurological complication in the pediatric age group. This is more commonly in the old age group, and in some cases, young adults also, they are getting the neurological complication. I myself operated a 42 years old person who was infected with the COVID, had a bad brain stroke. I had to operate that patient in emergency. So this is again more common in the young adult, but not seen in the pediatric age group as of now.
So the next question is it advisable that positive corona patients should wait for the vaccination till he or she recovers, as there are cases that persons can be positive without symptoms also?
Persistently means I couldn't get this, madam.
Is it advisable that positive corona patients should wait for vaccination till he or she recovers?
Yeah, naturally. They have to wait for at least 6 to 8 weeks. This is very clear. They need to wait for 6 to 8 weeks.
After the infection
after the recovery. After the recovery, yeah.
Another question which has come is that if a person without symptoms but probably positive gets vaccination, will it reduce the effectivity of the vaccine? Would it be harmful?
No, it should not. See, this is again not very much discussed about if the patient is asymptomatic and get a vaccine. Yes, sometime now he is though asymptomatic, he is having the infection.
Yes.
So he is having infection. If he gets a vaccine, naturally infection may flare up. But again, the infection control consultant can answer this question in a better way.
Sir, how can the vaccine be effective if the virus mutates? Somebody wants to know if there is mutation and even in future it would mutate. Would this vaccine still be effective?
Yes, this is very important. See, now, what are the studies? Studies are showing that whatever the two common vaccines which are available with us is the Corona Covaxin and the Covishield. The studies are showing that they are both basically effective against the mutant. But see, I gave examples of swine flu. What happened with the swine flu? It keeps on changing. There a mutation keeps happening. Number of strains were coming, newer strains were coming. So every time the vaccine has to incorporate the strain which has come. So vaccine was also to undergo modification accordingly. Then it will serve the complete purpose. So we will see that in the recent future, whatever the strains which has erupted, which has come up during this second and third wave, they will all be incorporated in the booster doses.
Right.
In the booster dose, that will definitely, it will be same as that of swine flu.
So if the disease evolves, even the vaccine would evolve.
Vaccine will evolve also.
Right, sir. So what are the neurological complications that may arise because of COVID, and what precautions can we take?
So see, regarding neurological complication, I would like to highlight a very important feature of the brain and the spinal cord. See, brain and spinal cord, they have a cells. If they are very delicate cells, if the cells are damaged, the damage is forever. If the damage is complete, damage is forever. If the cell is getting damaged, there is no regeneration for that. There is no transplantation for that. There is no treatment for that. This is in contrast to the entire rest of the body cells. All body cells undergo regeneration. If not, transplantation is available. If not, some or other type of treatment is available for their regeneration. But this is not true as far as our brain and the spinal cord is concerned. So these are very delicate cells. When they are damaged, damage is forever. Means when the cell is damaged, the function of that cell is also permanently lost. And deficit we are getting because of the loss of that cell is also permanent. So this is how delicate is the brain and the spinal cord compared to the rest of the body. So if we get some neurological complication, now what are the neurological complications we are coming across during this COVID? Because of the purely COVID, the most common infection which is coming across, which common symptoms which is coming across is the loss of smell and loss of taste. This is the most common. This is a neurological manifestation of the disease. And the studies shows that it could be either that's through nose, it grows, crosses the bone and affect the system, or it could be through the blood also, it can circulate to the brain. So this is probably a reason. What are the other complications coming across are headache. This is commonly seen in many of the patients, headache purely because of the neurological involvement. And severe complications are in the form of stroke. Stroke, that is the paralytic attack. And something like Guillain-Barré syndrome, means it is a paralysis of all four limbs, paralysis of the central nervous system that may involve the respiration also. So these are the serious manifestation of the corona infection. Now, as far as the stroke is concerned, what happens because of the stroke? This is a thrombotic complication. The clot occurs in the blood vessels, as a result of which a blood supply to the particular territory of the brain is damaged, and the brain is damaged. As a result, that part is deprived of the blood supply and undergoes damage. This is what is called as the brain stroke. This is a severe complication of this corona infection, and it is whatever the studies are there, it shows that more the severity of corona infection, more will be the chances of getting neurological complication. So if the corona is severe, you are at high risk of getting thrombotic complication, which could be in the form of stroke. As far as prevention is concerned from this stroke, as of now, with this, the most important thing will be to diagnose and to treat the corona at the earliest is the most important thing. As far as the prevention is concerned, this is only the prevention.
Right, sir. And sir, somebody is asking, what is your guideline for a positive COVID patient who is recovered and vaccinated to take apart from COVID appropriate behavior? Anything else which requires to be done for a person who is
madam, yes, everyone has to see, focus on two things: COVID appropriate behavior, and second is the immunity. Immunity plays very important role. Immunity, if you can fight virus well, you can restrict the virus. That is important thing. So immunity plays very important role. For that, diet, exercises, they play important role.
Right, sir. So one of our viewers is very inspired with your suggestions which you gave regarding vaccination, of certification, and the other thing. He wants to know whether we can communicate this to the government and how we can, whether there is any mode by which we can do this.
So, madam, you people are the best people who can advise. If this can be done, and if this can be, this will be a great thing, because this will motivate everyone.
Or something on that ground.
Because so if we can motivate, that will motivate number of people, madam.
Yes, absolutely.
If we can do that, that will be a great thing.
Yes, sir. Somebody is saying, what happened when a person who's already got remdesivir injection in the hospital and after 20 days still has a score of 1025 from the day one, and after injection in HRCTC, and what are the precautions for these people?
See, ma'am, you said the use of remdesivir is again controversial. See, all clinicians, they talk differently about this. See, most of them in foreign countries, they are not, agree with our clinical experience. What our clinical experience says, yes, remdesivir is useful. The foreign clinicians say it is not that helpful. The most important is the use of steroid and the anticoagulant. So here, where it differs. As far as the remdesivir is concerned, it is not a complete treatment. It is not something a cure. It is not something like a Sanjeevani, which everyone is predicting. If the remdesivir is there, will be treated, otherwise will be lost. This is not something like that. This is as far as the management is concerned, there is an effective role of steroid as well as the anticoagulant. As far as the use of remdesivir is concerned, this is probably in case of cytokine storm, when the body resists very strongly to the infection, and ultimately it leads to the cytokine storm. During this period, remdesivir can be of great help. This is what our clinician feels. Now, as far as you see, in a number of patients, see, I'll tell you the example. One of our known to patients was 0 score when he became symptomatic. And when this, gradually on 7th, 8th day, what happened? He started, his oxygen was slightly his lowering down. He got his scan done. The scan showed he has a score of 10. He was admitted, treatment, and started on treatment. Again, after 5 days, his score was repeated. CT scan was repeated. Score was 20. So can you imagine now? I have seen many patients who has got admitted with a score 22, but they came well out of this. Now it is not only remdesivir which is pulling them out. See, remdesivir is given for 5 days. Still the score is increasing.
Yes.
But because of other supportive care, because of your good immunity, you can still come out of that. There is no problem.
So it's not a magic potion. It is just something.
It is
which-
not Sanjeevani, madam.
Right,
This
sir.
is true.
Right, sir. Another question which has come is that, as you said, the mask is the only weapon we have. So can you elaborate more on the point that the virus can enter only through the mouth, nose, and eyes?
Yeah.
So, and from nowhere else. That is the main.
Yeah. See, ma'am, the most important system which is affected is the respiratory system. That's why there is a most important use of the mask. Similarly, use of the eyes has to be protected, and that all goes through the hand basically. So the use of sanitizer or the frequent hand washing is equally important. That's why I told you the using mask is of great importance. I highlighted during my during my talk that if a healthy person comes across an infected person, if both of them not wearing mask, chances of healthy person getting infection is 90%. If the COVID patient wears a mask and opposite healthy individual is not wearing mask, you see it dramatically goes down to 5%. Now, if the COVID person is not wearing mask and me are wearing the mask, chances of me getting the infection goes down to 30%. So it is most important that the COVID patient wearing the mask, see how dramatically it reduces the transfer of infection. Both are wearing the mask, see it grows down dramatically just 1.5%. This is how important is the use of mask.
And would you recommend double masking, sir? Because that is
yes. When few studies because of the second wave, they have shown that the double masking is much more effective.
So the next question is that because of there are issues in availability of vaccine, if the person is due for the second jab,
yes,
doesn't get it on time, what are the consequences?
Ma'am, see, initially, because initially when the Covishield started, we started vaccinating, particular medical professionals were started with the Covishield and the Covaxin. So majority of us received the Covishield only. So initial studies showed us that probably the second jab has to be taken after 4 weeks, after 28 days. We all of us took that. But latest, see now this is everything new for everyone, even for the scientists also. So when they were studying this, what they found, if the second jab is taken after 2 to 3 months, the immunity, the antibodies which will last will be much more for a long period of time as compared to the 28 days. So the norms were then adequate, then accordingly changed from 4 weeks to 6 to 8 weeks or probably 12 weeks. This was changed. Now, as far as Covishield is concerned, what is now recommendation in India is a 6 to 8 weeks. But what the foreign countries study shows, it can be up to 3 months also, so that the antibody will persist for a long period of time. As far as Covaxin is concerned, these things are not clear. They have told us that it is after 4 weeks, you should get your jab. So what is happening? The Covishield is freely available. There was some problem with the Covaxin, but government ensured all of us that those who got the first jab, the Covaxin was reserved for them. The Covaxin was given to all those who received for first jab. It was not for use for the new participant, but Covishield was used. So the Covaxin was used for those only who received the first jab because of some shortage of the Covaxin.
Right, sir.
So if there were in some delay also, I don't think that much of a problem will occur, because everything is an experimental stage. Whatever the immune response, it is stimulated. It is not something like if you don't get second vaccine at the right time, if there is a delay of 4-5 days here and there, it will fail. This is not. This is probably boosting up because of the second dose, boosting up the immunity because of the second dose.
Right, sir. Somebody also wants to know that if it has been the pattern of a pandemic that it hits after every 100 years, why did the world or India not anticipate it that it would come in 2020 and prepare for the pandemic?
This is very difficult for
I'm
it.
sure
No one can predict
Nostradamus.
this.
Right. So,
No one can
how do
predict
we
this.
differentiate between a normal viral infection and COVID if we are at home and if we are there and it happens?
Hey, madam, the most important now, I said this is very good question. This is excellent question. I'll label this as. See, normal flu and the flu because of corona, it is very difficult to differentiate. And the pandemics, one should always label this. Any flu-like symptom is a corona infection unless proved otherwise. Because if it is corona, it is exactly going to change the scenario. If it is a common flu, then it is okay. But if it's corona, you will infect many patients. You will infect many people. So unless proved otherwise, any patient having the flu-like symptom should be labeled as COVID. Unless proved otherwise, he must be any patient having the flu-like symptom must be subjected to the RT-PCR or the COVID antigen test.
So assume that it is corona positive and otherwise.
And please, please behave accordingly so that you will not infect many people.
Right.
You will, contain the spread of the disease. That is important.
Sir, do you advise or approve excess reliance on laboratory tests or scans against clinical symptoms? What is more reliable?
See, this is again a good question. But see, if the patient is, what is happening with this mutation, there are few patients which are initially remaining stable. They are initially stable. Their score is also less. For example, many patients, they are at home, they are being treated. Many patients are at home. Most of them, they are treated on symptoms wise, on basis of symptoms. But because of this mutation, particularly in the second wave, in some patient, it is becoming very severe. As I've told you, a person having this CT score 0, then becoming 10 and then becoming 20 over a period of 20 days. So such cases are also there on the records. So it is, you see, reliability is not, it is mainly from the safety point of view. We can't, we can't relax and wait for the symptoms to occur, in the sense we can't allow that the patient who was initially not needing oxygen now needs oxygen and come in a crisis when there are no beds available. So it is more of a preventive aspect that we are doing repeated scans probably and some tests just to know the pattern of a disease, how it is going on in the absence of symptom. This is very important, because this is when we arrest the disease in the absence of the symptom, rather than treating the disease when it becomes very florid. This is always good. That is always good as far as the outcome is concerned. So it is more from the preventive aspect.
Right, sir. So since the virus has mutated, somebody wants to know whether it is better to take Covishield or Covaxin. Is there any particular difference between the two? And
so the most important in present scenario is that one should get vaccinated, irrespective of it is a Covishield or the Covaxin.
right.
But whatever, now the Covaxin is Indian made and there are good studies. See, Covaxin is a very safe vaccine because it is as good as other vaccines which you are regularly taking. This is a killed vaccine. This is a killed vaccine. And this is a complete basically virus which is taken while preparing the vaccine. So it is the most safe vaccine. There is no doubt about it. At the same time, as far as the nature is concerned, vaccine is concerned, complete virus being taken into while making the vaccine, it is said that it is really better as far as the mutations are concerned. It is really better than mutation are concerned. But again, I would like to, this is what now the scientists are telling about this. But what is my day-to-day experience about this is that even those who are, see, myself, I have taken the Covishield. Myself, my family members have also taken the Covishield. So I've seen number of my, known tools, those who got infected after taking Covishield. They are absolutely asymptomatic. So it is definitely working well with this mutated virus also. So I've seen number of patients like this. Those after receiving vaccine, they remain very stable and at home they can manage well. So the need of the time, we should not go into that fight, which vaccine is better. The most important, how will I get a vaccine? That is more important than which brand I will take, because we need a vaccine, not the brand. It doesn't matter much, because everyone will have a booster, including all those mutants which are now creating basically new cells. Yeah, don't worry regarding that one.
Right. Sir, could you please focus on post-COVID care? Because one of the viewers says she's suffering from continuous leg ache. So anything which should be done in particular for post-COVID care?
Yeah, see, that's the post-COVID. This is the fatigability. Exhaustion is very common with this disease, which persists for almost 4 to 6 weeks. This is a very common complaint. The most important for this is our diet has to be very good. It should be rich in protein. It should be rich in protein. That's the most important thing. The diet and some immunity boosters can be taken along with that. But is all exhaustion and fatigability always stays there for 4 to 6 weeks? Some or other type of complaints goes on. It gradually fades away. The most important is to be very good balanced diet will answer this, along with the supplementation of vitamins and minerals.
Right, sir. So whether pregnant ladies should go for vaccination is another question.
Yeah, this is more important thing. See, there are still not trials which are conducted for the pregnant lady and the lactating female. This is very important. I was stressing much on these two groups basically: pregnant lactating woman, pregnant and the lactating woman, and second is the pediatric age group. Now this is a peak time before third wave hits this group badly. This is now a peak time. We should give a serious thought to this. If we are not started the trials, Covishield has started trial, but there was some pause given to that because of some or other complication. But all this vaccine manufacturers should give a serious thought to this group, and please, they should act for this group. They should finish up the trial at the earliest so that they can also be vaccinated.
Sir, how far in the future can we expect neurological effects of this coronavirus to come?
Madam, this is again new virus, but you see, all types of infections are happening with this. All type of neurological infections are happening with this virus. Whatever we come across in what the infection we were coming across in non-COVID phase, the same infections are also coming in this as far as neurological complications are concerned, like the headache, anosmia, nausea, convulsion, fits, then the stroke, GBS-like symptom, that is a paralysis everywhere affecting the entire nervous system. This is again very common. But this is all proportionate. What exactly will happen in the future? This is very difficult to tell. What type of picture it will change? This is even encephalitis is very common. Madam, regarding that, I just forgot to mention one thing regarding that when ma'am asked you a question about she is having fatigability and exhaustion, how to manage that part. You see, madam, apart from this fatigability and early exhaustion, the patients are coming across the most important infection which can give rise to this, particularly in post-COVID phase, particularly those patients who are diabetic, who are facing a problem of fungal infection now. This is very common, particularly in the post-COVID diabetic patient. This is a very bad infection. These patients are coming across. This is called as mucormycosis. And this is very terrible infection they are coming across. If at all you are diabetic, you should have a high degree of suspicion with even slight change of your symptom. Please consult your clinician for the same. This is my advice, sincere advice.
Right, sir. Sir, somebody has asked that after the house help leaves the house, till how much time should we continue wearing masks and face shield?
As soon as she leaves, we can take out your face shield and the mask. There is no problem.
Right. So, any suggestions about airborne and its precautions as to if it is being transmitted via air, apart from mask?
Madam, again yeah, please. Yeah.
Apart from mask, would there be any other manner in which we can safeguard ourselves?
No, ma'am. No. That is only a thing, madam, which will save us. Only mask.
Right. One personal question has come that if a positive patient has recovered and is having sufficient antibodies, the age is the antibody count is 53. Is it advisable to go for vaccination or should we wait?
Ma'am, as far as the directions from the health ministry, all those who are infected and the antibody is positive, they should get vaccinated. But logically, if you are vaccinated, if you are infected and now develop very good antibodies, then you can logically, I'm saying logically, not as per the advisory. Logically, you should follow this antibody. how many months it will stay. Once it start declining, then you can vaccinate yourself.
Right, sir. Right. Sir, I think is there any more questions? Are there any more questions from anyone? Because I've come to the end of the chat box.
I think sufficient questions were there, and Dr. Sir has given us a lot of time.
Yes.
No, ma'am. I'm really thankful to all of you for this
We can wind up.
great session.
It's 1.5 it is.
So thank you to all of you for this really great session, and this was a great honor to me, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
On behalf of the High Court. Thank you so much, sir.
thank you, everyone.